All right, looks like we are live. Wonderful. Well, this is Feminine Leadership Collective. We are a safe, connected tribe of empathic women. We walk on the path of spiritual alignment to create massive success in the world using our feminine leadership. And today we have beautiful Risa Gull. Risa is my friend, my colleague. She is a self love and relationship coach for women. She's an award winning speaker and creator of the program Freedom from Codependency, the self love solution. Risa has helped thousands of women get the clarity they need to make the decisions that are right for them and create authentic, fulfilling relationship that last. Wow, Lisa. Lisa, thank you and for being here and welcome to Feminine Leadership Collected. It's such an honor to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Shakti. Happy to be with all of you here today, this beautiful group.
Yeah, thank you. I want to just dive right in, Risa, if that's okay with you. I want to know, how did you come to be doing this? What
Yeah,
led you here?
thank you for asking that. So, it's really through my own life experience. We teach what we want to learn and we teach what we have learned. And so I was married to a man who struggled with alcoholism and depression, and I just did not realize how much I was depending on him to be my source of love, approval, security, until he really started struggling with all of that. And as painful as that was, I'm actually really grateful for that experience now, because I just learned so much about how to be in good, right, loving relationship with myself, and that my partner is not my source, that source is my source, and just, how to be in right relationship with myself and what it really takes to be in a healthy relationship. So there we go.
Yeah, so okay, so what I'm hearing is a lot of your life experience really helped you prepare for what you do now, which is great. Um, I think one of our mentors say life is the best PhD program you can ever go to. So I am feeling that uh, validated from you too. So tell us, what tips can you share with us today to help women who are struggling in their relationship? Because what I'm hearing is that there is another way. We don't have to struggle in relationship. We don't have to stay in relationships because we are codependent on someone else. Um, if someone is watching this or hearing this, what tips can you share with them?
Yeah, thank you for asking that, Shakti. I think the biggest mistake that I made, and that I see pretty much everyone making, is it's just so easy to get focused on that other person and everything that's not what we want, and to get really kind of wrapped up into that. And so, the problem with that is that we don't have control. Like, that's the mistake, really, is that we're trying to control other people and make them behave differently and show up differently. And so I learned that on a very deep level. Like, we really don't have control over anybody else except for ourselves. So where I always like to start with the women that I coach with is to just invite you, first of all, take a breath and just know, like, honor how you feel. It's okay wherever you're at right now in your journey, whatever your experience you're having, just to acknowledge how you feel. That's like the first step. Is like, this is really about us getting in alignment with ourselves. So first of all, just honoring how you feel, and then the invitation is for us to, if you can, just kind of take your focus off everything that's not working right now, because we also know that what you focus on expands, right? If you're familiar with how the laws of the universe work with laws of attraction, right? So what we focus on, we get more of. So not helping. Even Albert Einstein said we cannot solve the problem from the same level of consciousness that created it. So let's take another breath. And just for now, we can just kind of step back and get the focus off everything that's not working and turn it back onto ourselves. And I know that's took me a while to kind of really be able to do that. So I know that sometimes it's easier said than done when you've got this problem and it's right in your face. And, so, but if you can, just as much as possible, get your focus back on yourself. And that's not to say that there aren't things that would need to change in order for you to be happy or for you to want to stay in your relationship. Or that you should be accepting any kind of unacceptable behavior, or that you shouldn't be asking for what you want. But in general, we can just kind of take our focus off what's not working and just for now, kind of set it down and just focus on self-care. What do I need to do to just take care of myself right now? I might not like the situation, but I can take care of myself. I can like myself in it, and I can take care of myself in it. And so that's really the first step. And don't underestimate the power of good self-care, right? I've had clients that just even, doing that one thing just changed the whole energetics of the relationship, the whole dynamic. So I call it the power of one person, the power of one to influence what's happening. We're 50% of the equation, right? So if we can start to show up feeling more resourced from within ourselves, a little more calm, a little more centered, maybe also up level our communication skills, then that goes a really long way to getting on the path to healing and also to clarity. And I would just say one more thing for if anybody is really struggling with that question of whether or not to stay in the relationship. I know how painful that is, and that brings up like just a lot of stress. We're in constant stress when you're struggling with that question. It's really hard to live sitting on the fence like that. And there's a lot of good reasons why we kind of stay stuck in that question. But I would just like to share just really briefly in a nutshell, if I could, like how do you really find the clarity then? How do you really get to the place where you can answer that question from a place of real deep inner knowing? And so I share with women what I call my relationship clarity process. And this is what I discovered for myself, and just through working with hundreds of women over these past several years. And just real briefly in a nutshell, I always say the relationship is kind of like a dance, and maybe not so fun right now. And so that first step, we get the focus off that other person. We start to, this is the work really. We just need to get in alignment with ourselves and get the tools and the support we need to be able to come into good, loving relationship with ourselves, release any old patterns. And we all have our stuff, that may be running, and up leveling communication skills. And then it becomes like an experiment. So we see, oh, well, is he leaning in? Is he leaning out? And can he dance with me now in this way? So it's really, that's the power of one person. But that is really how we get to the clarity. Clarity emerges as a natural outcome of us getting in alignment with ourselves and our truth.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, there's so many gems shared in the last 5 minutes, Risa. I don't think I can recap any of this, but I can imagine and I can kind of feel if someone is not being able to enjoy a good relationship with their partner and they are questioning whether they should stay or leave. I think you're almost like this first aid formula, which is like, hey, take all that attention away from your partner, because it is such big part of the programming is that when things don't work well in our life, the first thing human mind does is start blaming others. And I'm not saying that others did not contribute to some of the misery and pain you're feeling, but to be able to pull the awareness back and not problem solve it, and to give yourself that comfort right now, that self care right now, I think that alone is deeply transformational, deeply transformational. And then to continue doing that in your program, like the self love solution that you were talking about, I think it's quite revolutionary, where we start to take this as my partner is doing XYZ wrong versus how can I love myself more?
Mhm.
Am I understanding that right, Risa?
Yes, I love that you really highlighted that, Shakti, because that is our natural inclination as human beings. It's like we just blame, right? We just blame that other person. But what I find is if, well, first of all, it doesn't help, it doesn't solve anything, right? And I love that Native American expression, when you're pointing a finger at someone else, there's four of them pointing back at you. So, and that's not to shame anyone or blame blame yourself either, but it's just, we have to be willing to just, recognize, what do I have control over? What don't I have control over? It's okay. I'm seeing things I don't like. When I know what I don't like, I know what I do like. And also, we have to be willing to just take responsibility for ourselves and, like I said, take the power to choose how you want to respond. And you know what the beautiful thing is for women who really are willing to be honest with themselves, and this is maybe going to sound a little radical, but I find like it's never really about the other person.
Right?
The relationship, it's in life, it's really like a mirror for us if we're willing to use it as such and take responsibility and say, when I'm really triggered, we call it triggers as treasures. Like, oh, wow, whoa, what is it in me? And it's usually some deep old childhood pattern where, our buttons are getting pushed. And so that's where honestly, where the coaching support comes in. But if we can be willing to look within ourselves, like that's what I did in that whole experience. It's like, wow, like look at, like, where am I? Like, what's my part in all of this? Where am I? Where am I giving away my power? Where am I, not being in a good, loving relationship with myself? And so it is an opportunity, and again, that's not to say that like there aren't things that we need to change for you want to be able to stay or be happy in your relationship, but it's just really, it's all a growth opportunity, right? Would you agree? Relationships, just opportunity for growth.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think what we're honing in on here in this conversation, the greatest relationship you can share really with yourself first. And if that is aligned, everything else works. And I'm seeing that being the foundation of your work. And I know this is the foundation of my work as well. I want to pause here and I want to just put it out there. Anybody listening to Risa's this conversation and all the gem Risa has been able to share with us so far. I think it's so amazing, these golden nuggets that are coming out of her straight from directly from her mouth. But she is actually offering a free 3-day training called Three Keys to Get the Love You Want. Again, it's 3-day free training experience from September 12th to 14th. And I'm going to be dropping this link in the Facebook group comments, and we're going to be including this link in our podcast description as well. Grab that link. You do not want to miss this 3-day event. Again, it is complimentary for our community. And if you are a woman who is questioning your relationship for any reason, if you are not satisfied with the partnership, the marriage that you're in, you do not want to miss this event. So, Risa, anything you want to share about this event that that people can like hear about, get excited about?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, we're going to really take a deep dive into all of this that we're talking about. We're going to talk about a little bit more about how that relationship clarity process, how do you really get to that place of real clarity, real inner knowing, to be able to make the decisions that are right for you if you're struggling with that question of whether or not to stay or go. And how do we free ourselves from these unconscious patterns that may be at the root of our challenges? Like we all have our attachment styles and our patterns. Like the most common ones that I see are a lot has to do with just learn people pleasing. We learn these patterns as kids when we were dependent on the adults to take care of us. So we come up with these, I call them winning strategies, or they're really survival strategies. As little kids, we're very resourceful. We adapt. Okay, so I'll do whatever I need to do to feel like I'm pleasing mommy and daddy and getting the love I love and approval I need. So it's really a survival pattern that gets developed, but then we carry it through into now we're adults. We don't, these patterns may not be serving us. So it's like things like people pleasing or feeling like overly responsible, like we have to care. And I've had all of these, like we all have to caretake everybody else, or that sense of perfectionism, like you get rewarded for what you do instead of, being approved of for who you are, and you feel like you have to prove yourself. And so these are all some of the more common ones, where we're going to take a deep dive into how do we identify what are the patterns that may be running within us that are preventing us from really experiencing the love we want or making the decisions that are right for us, and how do we create healthy, fulfilling relationships that last. So I'm really excited to be on live with everybody next week. We'll just be a very beautiful confidential Zoom gathering with probably a small group of women. And we'll have some private time afterwards for questions and answers. We'll be on for about an hour each day for those 3 days. And I'm excited to share with anybody who is just feeling like they're not really happy. They want to see if their relationship, either they can improve it, or if they're in that question of whether or not to stay or go. This is going to be really powerful training. So I'm excited to be able to share.
Amazing. And I just want to kind of read off these, like, a few bullet points that I've been able to grab from your event description, which is number one mistake women make when trying to get their needs met in a relationship. I think we all need to learn that. People, as being the people in relationships, and especially women, we try so hard to make things work. We need to know what is our number one mistake. I also see written, if you're unhappy, how do you know it's possible for your relationship to improve? Beautiful, especially for women who are right there in that moment feeling that level of dissatisfaction. They can, I think, really benefit from it. And the number one secret to creating healthy, fulfilling relationships that last. I think this is a powerhouse of an event, full of knowledge, full of goodies and golden nuggets. So again, if you are watching this or hearing this conversation, you do not want to miss Risa's upcoming free training event, 3 keys to get the love you want. It is all complimentary for the spiritual alignment, feminine leadership, collective community, and you're welcome to join it. Lisa, I am just floored and just enjoyed this conversation a lot. I want to just like take a moment to wrap up. Is there anything that you want to offer? I see, like, maybe one question could be, what are the most important things women need to know in order to experience the love they want? As women, the health of our relationships affect our self-esteem. How loved we feel directly affects our heart, our self-worth, our self-esteem right there. And I want to just ask you, is there anything that you want to offer as a way of wrapping up this conversation?
Yeah, I would just say, again, the big mistake that I made, or I don't like to call it a mistake, I call it a learning, and that I pretty much see everybody doing across the board, is that we are looking to other people for that validation or that love or that approval, or that sense of security. And so we're sort of taught that also culturally. I call it normalized codependency. And so the goal really is for both individuals to come into the relationship from a place of feeling whole and resourced from within themselves. It's not like, culture would have us think, oh, you need that other half, that other person to complete you. Well, you're not half a person. You're a whole person. You are already whole and beautiful and complete. And so that was what I learned really from my life experience. I just was constantly looking to other people for love and approval because I just didn't know how to give it to myself, which is really the beautiful transformational work that I love to do with women now. Is just, all right, well then how do we come into right relationship with ourselves and be in good loving relationship, into alignment with the truth of who we are, and letting go of any old stories, old patterns. Like we all have our core limiting beliefs that we develop as kids. And it usually boils down to either I feel like I'm unworthy in some way, I'm not good enough, what I have to say is not important. We just learn, we pick this stuff up as kids, or there's that real fear of abandonment. And so there's sort of the two core fears or limiting beliefs that really drive us and on an unconscious level drive our behavior. And so most important thing I always say is that unless you're in right relationship with yourself, no relationship's ever going to be right, because nobody can do that for you. After I got divorced, I was thinking about the word self-esteem, and it dawned on me like, oh, that's why they call it self-esteem. You only get it from yourself. It's like, light bulb moment. But that's really, that's the work. It's really, that's why I call myself a self-love and relationship coach. And it's, like a lot of the work that you're doing too. It's like, all right, how do we get the tools and the support we need to really experience radical self-acceptance and really come into more loving relationship with ourselves and in alignment with the truth of who we are. And so that's really the work. And so I don't know if I answered your question, but
You totally did. And I cannot say it enough. I am just so grateful for you making time today for this conversation. I personally learned a lot, and I know this is such a treat for my community of women to hear this, because these are honestly the everyday conversations we have, with clients, with things that come up in women's awareness. What really takes up most of our mental space, the real estate in our mind, is relationships. And I think the more we have these conversations and normalize, hey, we're all humans, we're all gonna get into these situations. There is really no perfect relationship or perfect partner, but it really is an art of taking that power back, bringing it to yourself, and to stand in that relationship as a grounded, self-resourced, self-reliant person. And then you can create that interdependence with someone. Then you can create that fulfillment. And if we try to kind of problem solve it and focus on the other person, and then it just becomes like a game of control. And that is really what actually takes us further away from the love that we are meant to experience in this lifetime.
Beautifully said. Yeah, just we're looking for that healthy interdependence. And so that's it. We got to come from that place where we're feeling whole and resourced from within ourselves. Beautifully said.
Thank you, Risa. Again, if you are, if you were able to follow this conversation, we have Risa is having a free training coming up on September 12 to 14, which is 3 keys to get the love you want. And this is available complimentary to our community. Please grab the link. It's in the description and the comment. And you do not want to miss this training because there's such beautiful golden nuggets that came in this conversation. And I'm actually so curious and excited to hear more and get more and be on a journey with Risa and other sisters, so that we can all grow together in deepening that love for our beings.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Risa. Thank you. We appreciate you all the time that you spent with us today, and wishing you all the very best.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.